Hello, this is Thought for the Day for Friday the 17th of July. My name's Pam Cribben and today we're looking at Psalm 104. For the last 3 days we've been looking at all the amazing benefits of knowing God in Psalm 103. That psalm finished, "Praise the Lord, all his works everywhere in his dominion. Praise the Lord, my soul." Today's psalm opens on the same note of praise. Praise the Lord, my soul. Lord my God, you are very great. You are clothed with splendor and majesty. Today we're going to look at a beautiful painting, or perhaps a nature video of the world where everything is as it should be. I don't know what a perfect world looks like for you. Can you remember spending a day when you've looked back and thought, that was a good day? I can think of perhaps a family day out, when the sun was shining, of course. Maybe we had a picnic, everyone got on well together. There was nothing to spoil the day, like traffic jams or wasps, and no one was in a hurry to get home. At the end of the day, you arrive home and think, that was how life should be. Hopefully, we'll get that sort of feeling after looking at today's psalm. The first few verses are a very poetic description of God and his creation. At school, we learned the difference between metaphors and similes. I'm pretty sure both are used here. The Lord wraps himself in light as with a garment. He stretches out the heavens like a tent, and lays the beams of his upper chambers on their waters. He makes the clouds his chariot, and rides on the wings of the wind. He makes winds his messengers, flames of fire his servants. This is like the backdrop to our painting. Then we move in closer to see the earth in verse 5. He set the earth on its foundations. It can never be moved. You covered it with the watery depths as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains, but at your rebuke the waters fled. At the sound of your thunder they took to flight. They flowed over the mountains. They went down into the valleys to the place you assigned for them. You set a boundary they cannot cross. Never again will they cover the earth. This gives the impression that not only is God the artist of this masterpiece, but he's also very much in control of what's happening in it. Next, we zoom in to look in more detail at the earth. Verse 10 continues, He makes springs pour water into the ravines. It flows between the mountains. They give water to all the beasts of the field. The wild donkeys quench their thirst. The birds of the sky nest by the waters. They sing among the branches. This reminds me of perhaps a David Attenborough video of nature at its finest. In verse 14, we see God's provision of food, not only for humans, but for animals as well. He makes grass grow for the cattle and plants for people to cultivate, bringing forth food from the earth, wine that gladdens human hearts, oil to make their faces shine, and bread that sustains their hearts. What I noticed about these verses was that the food God provides is not just food that keeps our bodies alive, but it tastes good and makes us feel happy. God is a very generous provider. From verse 19 we see the rhythm of life that God has created. The psalmist mentions the moon marking the seasons and the sun that knows when to go down. There are animals that come out at night, and we see that God even provides food for lions. Then, when the sun rises, the night animals go back into hiding and the humans come out. I particularly love verse 23. Then people go out to their work, to their labour until evening. Work is part of the natural rhythm of life that God has built into his amazing creation. The psalmist breaks out into praise again in the next verse. How many are your works, Lord? In wisdom you made them all. All the earth is full of your creatures. Then he talks about the sea with its countless creatures, even a creature called Leviathan that we don't really know what it was. And all these creatures look to God who gives them their food at the proper time. Verses 29 and 30 are a reminder that not only does God create life, he also takes it away at the time he chooses. This psalm to me is a portrait of the world as it should be. People and animals living together in harmony in a beautiful world, looking to God who provides all they need. But then I have to ask, why is the world so often not like this? Why is so much wrong? Why are there floods and droughts and food shortages? Why is so much of God's world under all sorts of threats, like global warming? The list could go on. This is one of the biggest questions we're faced with. How do we reconcile a good God who created such a beautiful world for us to enjoy with what we all too often see and experience? I think that for Christians, this psalm gives us hope that one day when Jesus returns, we will again live in a world like the one described in the psalm, like this world was intended to be before sin and selfishness crept in. And verse 35 shows us we have a choice to be among those who work with God's plan for his earth, or those who work against it, who he warns will vanish from the earth. When we enjoy a perfect day here, when we feel like all's well with the world, in the brief moments when the world looks like the portrait painted in this psalm, we're just seeing a glimpse of the new heavens and the new earth that God has promised. As we navigate this strange season, when so much of life seems far from how it should be, may this psalm bring us all real hope for the future. I'll finish by reading a few verses from the end of this beautiful psalm. May the glory of the Lord endure forever. May the Lord rejoice in his works. I will sing to the Lord all my life. I will sing praise to my God as long as I live. Praise the Lord, my soul. Praise the Lord.